Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. As you can see in the slide, we are going to talk about another new scholar, Ibn Taymiyah. I think all of you know this name, one of the great name. We also call him Shaykhul Islam. This is Taqiyuddin Ahmad Ibn Abdul Halim. His name is Ahmad. Father name is Abdul Halim Ibn Abdul Salam al-Numayri al-Harrani. This Ibn Taymiyyah, the scholar, is actually he was actually also known for some controversial subjects. At the same time, he's quite popular in that sense. I will tell you why it was actually quite controversial to understand his concepts. At the same time, he was actually a great Islamic jurist, scholar. He was a great muhaddith, the hadith interpreter, and also a theologian. He was a philosopher. He was also an economist, and also a polymath. As you know, the polymath are the one actually who is actually he has the substantial number of subjects. They are really good at it. This scholar is actually, to my knowledge, he is one of the great Islamic economic scholar, because the way that he explains the subjects, for example, the price and market mechanism, and also the function of money, and also the administration, which is, we call it hisbah, and then also he talks about the public finance, expenditure, revenue. I think it is the next level, actually, the one he is doing. But before we go into his economic thought, which I will, inshallah, will give you three great aspects of it. But before I go to his economic thought, I want you to know that about the nature of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. Because Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, quite famous for his fatwa. That's because he was actually so this is the year he was born, in Haran, 22nd January 1263, which is 10 Rabiul Awwal 661 after Hijri. He was actually very early. Actually, he became a great scholar. He started issuing fatwa when he was actually, teenager. And when he was, before he turned into 30, he actually became Chief Justice. So can you believe, at the young age? As I told you, he started, his nature is actually issuing fatwa based on the contemporary scholars of his time. The most important thing that he wanted to go against, which actually some sort of bid'at, some sort of new practices in Islam, especially when it comes to shirk. Is pretty much very against of people going to shrine, the maqbara, the qubur, and then start doing some sort of activities in maqbara. For example, like if you happen to visit some places in subcontinent, you will know that how bad it is. So the way that you will see that there will be some shrine, some qubur of maybe some ulama, some Sufi, maybe some Maulana. What happens outside his shrine shrine is actually a kind of activities like people come, even some people they make tawaf, like they make tawaf in Ka'batullah. People dance, music, and also people do some sort of sajda towards the shrine, which completely is actually against the Islamic principles of Tawheed. So these are the things when it started, becoming into rituals, it started becoming cult. I think that was the time Imam Ibn Taymiyyah was actually quite against of this. In fact, he gave many fatwa against those scholars who actually admit or permit visiting the qubur. Actually, visiting the qubur is something, it's not actually haram. But according to Ibn Taymiyyah, it opens the door of shirk, because people go there and they started remembering, and also started in a way they are worshipping the shrine. So he doesn't want that to be happen. So I think that's why he was quite against. His position, his stand was quite strong against of this kind of activities. As I told you, he was also given judge. He became chief judge, and then because of his fatwa, what happens that he was quite a lot. He spent his entire life, most of it in prison. So so what happens that, so he will issue the fatwa, and then someone very close to Khalifa, very close to the Malik, the king, he will report against Ibn Taymiyyah, and then the Khalifa, the Malik, the king will ask, imprison Ibn Taymiyyah. So he usually go, and then, but he was actually not very sad that he is going to prison. He goes to prison and he sits and he starts writing. So most of his work, most of his writings, his books, he authored in prisons. Sometimes, they don't give him paper and pencil, paper and pen. What he do, he actually start writing using the coal, or sometimes, even the stones. He start writing whatever that he can get. He start writing. So it was not something that stopping him. Then what happened? Once it was, then finally, when they started noticing that Ibn Taymiyyah never stopped writing, then they brought this rule, against him. He said that he actually, then he presented him again. He said he was taken away, everything, the reading and every reading and every writing materials away from him in the prison. Then he said the following. Then Ibn Taymiyyah said, now they really have put me into prison. Now they really have put me into prison. Because as long as he was in the prison, he never felt that he was in prison, as long as he was allowed to write and read materials. But when they said you cannot read anything, you cannot write anything, which is against fundamental human values, fundamental human human rights, then he said, okay, now you stop, now you put me in prison. So this is the background story about Ibn Taymiyyah. He was a fierceful, he was a quite active scholar. He never, afraid of anyone. He gives the truth. And when he do something, he go to the extent of it. He go to the core of the subject. He talks about it. That's why when I read about his work, especially when it comes to economic activities, economic concept, economic thought, he actually does not just share what the previous scholars has said about it. He actually contemplate. I mean, he actually goes in, and then he critically analyze, and then he gives his ideas, his assumptions, his suggestions. So that's what I want you to know earlier before we go into his economic thought. So let me just go through the slides first before I go to economic thought. Ibn Taymiyyah studied at an early stage all the disciplines of traditions of the Prophet, commentaries of the Quran, mathematics, philosophy. In each, he was far ahead of his contemporaries. Ibn Taymiyyah was barely 17. He was 17 when the Qadi of al-Maqdisi authorized him to issue fatwa. Because of the Mongol invasion, Ibn Taymiyyah's family moved to Dimashq, which he was then ruled by the Mamluk of Egypt. So I think this is what the Mamluks are the problems to Ibn Taymiyyah. It was here that his father delivered sermons from the pulpit of the Umayyad Mosque, and Ibn Taymiyyah followed his footsteps by studying with the great scholars his time, among them a women scholar by the name of Zainab. This Zainab bint Makki. He also learned from the women scholar from whom he learned hadith. Ibn Taymiyyah was an industrious student, acquainted himself with the secular and religious science of his time. He devoted special attention to Arabic literature, gained mastery over grammar, lexicography, as well as studying mathematics, calligraphy. His scholarly zeal combined with his intense partisanship and hypergraphia led many contemporaries and later observers, most notably Ibn Battuta, the traveler Ibn Battuta, who consider him mentally unbalanced. Because that the observance of these scholars. He studied jurisprudence from his father and became a representative of the Hanbali school of thought, though he remained faithful throughout his life, whose doctrine he had decisively mastered. He also acquired an extensive knowledge of the Islamic disciplines of the Quran Hadith. He also studies theology, Kalam, philosophy, Sufism, which Sufism later he rejected. He also refuted the Shia, Rafidah, as well as Christians. He also have plenty of work, debates against the Christians. His troubles with the government began when he went with a delegation of ulama to talk to Ghazan Khan, the Mamluk dynasty scholar, Mamluk dynasty ruler, the Khan of the Mongol in Iran, to stop his attack on the Muslims. It is reported that one of the ulama dared to say anything to the Khan except Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah was, fearful against the king, against the ruler. Ibn Taymiyyah started delivering lectures, and when he was 30, he was offered the Chief Justice, but he refused, as he could not persuade him to follow the limitation imposed by the authorities. He was interested in nothing except spreading knowledge and inspiring action in accordance with it. His brother used to take care of his expenses. So this is another good help. The brother, probably the big brother, used to take care of his expenses, which were slight as his lifestyle was very simple. He was concerned with the interests of others. Ibn Taymiyyah's life was not confined to the world of books and boats. Whenever circumstances demanded, he took part in political and public affairs too, distinguishing himself not only through his writing and speeches, but also with sword as a brave warrior. He was a brave warrior. All right, then. So now, this is what actually about his background. Okay. Now, before I go into his economic thought, I want you to just note it down. Under Ibn Taymiyyah, inshallah, we are going to discuss three major concepts. Yeah. So we are going to talk about three major issues. The first one is actually we need to talk about the price. All right, whatever that is concerns on the price, the market mechanism, regulations, the concept of just price, just wages, or just profit. Yeah, how much it is relevant to the society, the price regulations, and also the price fixing. Everything comes together. All right. So this is the first topic that we are going to talk about. The second topic that we need to cover is actually comes under the money and monetary policy. The second topic, money and monetary policy. So this is where we are going to talk about the nature and function of money, the debasement of the currency, the bad money arrives, the good money comes, you know, the regulations of the market, in this case, the role of state in economic life. Also, we will bring the institution of al-Hisbah under this monetary, money and monetary policy. Okay. Then number 3, very important topic from Ibn Taymiyyah's economic thought. We are going to talk about number 3, public finance. All right. So public finance, whereby we are going to talk about what are the public revenue, what are the public expenditures, right? Here what we are going to talk about, what is FI, the miscellaneous income, what is Kharaj, what is, I mean, this is very important to know, because Ibn Taymiyyah was able to, you know, compile in a very good manner. Also the expenditures of Zakah, expenditures of public revenue, FI revenue, expenditures of Ghanima revenue, you know. So these are the things what actually the 3 topics that we are going to cover. But I'm not going to do that in that order. Yeah, we have 3 topics to cover, but I would love to start not with the just price. I'm going to start with public finance. So I will come back to just price. I tell you why. The reason why I want to talk about the last topic first, because some of you doing your term papers, I had some interactions from some of you. Actually, the people, the students, I mean, among you, some of you are doing this Kharaj and public finance, right? Some of you also doing money and monetary policies, right? So I think since now you are doing your term paper, I also extended your term paper deadline. So I think this discussion, the public finance discussion, will help you to understand what exactly you have to talk about the taxation. Because the misunderstanding that most of us are having, or maybe we don't have the enough information, enough data, because when it comes to taxation, we always refer, in Islamic perspective, we always refer zakat, because we say, okay, we have public finance or taxation in conventional economics, but we have zakat in Islamic perspective. But that's not the right comparison. To me, that's not the right comparison, because first of all, zakat is not actually tax, and zakat cannot be used as a public finance, because that's not going to fulfill the objectives of the public revenues. Because you can see that zakat will be paid only 2.5%, and then not everybody pays zakat. Not everybody pays zakat. When it comes to tax, everybody pays taxes. So, and then the revenue, the expenditures, when it comes to zakat, it should be only spent on Muslims and only on 7 or 8 asnaf. You cannot do more than that. You cannot, it is not public for everybody. But the tax is actually been spent in every manner. In every corner of economic life, it is actually been referred. So now, that's why we have this issue that when it comes to public finance or taxation, we only talk about zakat. And if someone come and says zakat is actually will eradicate poverty, not necessary. Not necessary. Zakat has to play the role to eradicate the poverty. It can, because this zakat is actually belong to poor people. There's no doubt, but that's their right. You know, the poor people is belong to them. You don't have to make them into investment. That's why most of the scholars are still have complex ideas on the zakat investment. Because myself also, I have a paper on it. It's not that clear that actually, because why? Muslims and Muslim governments, the way that today we are following the system, which we call it Western system, the conventional system that we are following, especially post colonization, yeah, the post independence. Right now, we don't have anything that we call other than zakat as a Islamic public finance. And we know that every rich Muslims, they should pay zakat, and then they are paying, but zakat is not usually considered a big player in Islamic state, in Islamic history. So that one we need to understand. It is very important. But today we call it as zakat is zakat is zakat is everything. Zakat can, not necessary, because zakat, there's a limitation in zakat. Then the big question comes. Then throughout the history, the Islamic history, the golden age of Islamic territories, how did they manage their public finance? Is it by zakat? Yes, by zakat, but it was playing only a small role. So now we need to understand how did the entire public finance in Islamic history was used. Then I think Ibn Taymiyah has a lot to talk about it, because he brings whatever the early activities, practices, he brings everything together, and then he gives us the total understanding of public finance. All right, so this is how public finance was understood by Ibn Taymiyyah. What we mean by his understanding, this is what I've been practiced in Islamic territories throughout the Islamic history, the golden ages. He wrote a book for this. He said, Al-Iqtida As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim, Demands on the Straight Path. This is the book name. So in this book, he actually talked about everything, and when it comes to revenue of Baitul Mal, the revenue of Baitul Mal, he actually divides into three main categories. All right, so you can write it down. The revenue of Baitul Mal, the first category is actually includes fay, zakat, and ghanima, fifth of ghanima. We call it khumus. So now the first category has fay. All right, I'll come back to what fay. Okay, but again, in this first category, you have three varieties. I mean, three types. The first category has three types. The first type is fay. The second type is sadaqah, which is a zakat. So sadaqah was used to be called for zakat. The third type is a ghanima. Right? So now, if you look into, the first type, the first categories. So you have all these three things in the first category. Then he talks about the second category. The second category includes the treasury revenue from other sources. For example, the hairless property, the property that don't know belongs to who, this kind of properties. Even some sources like, there are some sources also, the controversial sources, but most probably, if there is any property that has no hairs, it will come in the second category. Then there is again the third category, which comes under the revenue of Baitul Mal. It goes to, any properties that without any right or any excuse. So most probably, This one is actually a land that with no man, or maybe the land that belongs to none. You know, either the government should find the rightful owner for it. If there is no rightful owner for it, then actually it has to go to everybody. So I think, basically speaking, the second and the third category is actually something that refer to the land, that whether there is a heir for the land or maybe there is none, right? So we need to say the government has to find, or maybe it is the land actually belongs to no one, it found just like that, you know. Okay, these are the things. But the first category is actually what the government, the Baitul Mal, usually run by it. So that's why the first category is actually very important to understand. So let us talk about that first category. All right. Okay. He also talks about, you know, yes, even some of the gift was given to Muslim rulers, you know, as a gift. Then these things also will come under the second or third category. But when it comes to public revenue, so it goes to, as I told you earlier, fay. So now you have three things: fay, ghanima, and sadaqah. Now what we need to know, what exactly fay? Okay, under fay you have the poll tax, jizya, whatever the tax that was imposed on Jews and Christians those days. You have the tribute paid by the enemies. You know, sometimes when you go to the war, they have to pay some tribute, or maybe if there is no war at all, also they will pay something. Also, you know, the head of state, whatever the things that given to him from anybody as a token of appreciation. Also, the custom duties. This is also a big revenue. The toll taxes, yeah, the toll taxes imposed on the traders of the different countries, the foreign countries. Also, the financial penalties, jinayat, the financial penalties. Also, the land tax, the land taxes, kharaj. Also, whatever that actually unclaimed property. Later, you know, once the government started looking for the real owner for the property, then the government has to give it to someone. But if when you don't have the real owner for the property, then that property will come back to the Baitul Mal, then it becomes under fay. Yeah, any deposits, debts, you know, that actually there is no real owner for it. Any other new sources of income, anything that the government do something, any. So basically speaking, all the taxes that today the government today is actually collecting for contemporary, you can see that you know, any goods taxes, any services taxes. You see, when we go to shop, we pay 6% or 5% or 3%. You know, last time we used to pay until 14-15% GST, and all these things actually comes under the taxes. At the same time, when you start earning, so you have to also pay your income taxes every month, every year. And also when you are buying a land or a property, there is also you know, chukai, the taxes. So all this, the government revenue today that actually we are having, entirely it is called fay, F-A-I, fa, ya, hamza, fay. So this is the first category of public revenue. This is the first category of, sorry, this is the first type of public revenue. Then you have the Second, which is actually a ghanima. Okay. Then you have the third one, which is actually zakat. So when it comes to ghanima, the ghanima usually it is called the booty. It comes from the war. Usually, it will be divided into 5. So 4 parts of the ghanima will be given back to the military, right? And then the 5th part of the ghanima usually is given to the Prophet ﷺ when he was alive. But when he was not, then this 1/5 actually given back to the state, and then the state will give it according to what Quran says. Yeah, whatever you take as a spoil of war, 1/5 thereof is for Allah and His Rasul and His family, the kinsman, and also the orphans and the needy and the wayfarer, if you believe in Allah. This is what Allah said. So this 1/5 also is directly will be distributed, because since Prophet ﷺ is not there after his demise, this 1/5 was given to the orphans and the miskins, the poor people. So this is what ghanima was given. But when it comes to zakah, and zakah, I think most of us, we already know about zakah. So it's not much to discuss, because the zakah is only given to the 7 or 8 asnaf. You cannot give more than that. You have to be. And if you look into the even okay, the other thing that Ibn Taymiyyah was able to categorize the asnaf. He said the first 2 asnaf is actually referring to the people who are having insufficient income. And also there's another category referred to the workers of zakah, the one who collect zakah. Also the others, including the riqab. Riqab means the one who, they are the slaves, and you pay them, so that you pay them off, so that they can actually, come out from the slavery. Also the other similar category is actually also referring to those who actually gharimun, meaning they are full of debt. So now you can use that money to reduce or to remove their debt and to pay back. And then also those people, the other category is actually those people who are actually fi sabilillah. So he was able to categorize this Ibn Sabilillah in one, and then gharimun, I mean the debt, and then the slavery people in one, and then the miskin and faqir in one. So in that way. Okay, so this is what we are talking about, the distribution of ghanima and also the expenditures of zakah. And when it comes to the expenditures of faith, so now we discussed what exactly faith. All right, so how many things, more than 10 types of faith is actually he actually mentioned, starting from toll tax, poll tax, and then the kharaj, right, and then the any new source of income, right. So now he talks about what are the expenditures of revenue, the faith revenue. There are numerous ways that actually he suggests the government, the Muslim government, can actually spend the money in economic duties of the state. In fact, the way that Ibn Taymiyyah discusses these expenditures of faith revenue, this discussion itself, it is actually something new. Yes, previously the scholars were talking about the collection and talking about what exactly is fay and the collection of the fay. But Ibn Taymiyyah went another stage, and then he started talking about the expenditures. In fact, This is also something that the English economists didn't do previously at early period of the time. If you look, according to one scholar, his name is Dalton, he says that English economists as a body have had surprisingly little to say concerning the the principles of public finance. Principle of public expenditure. So when it comes to expenditure, it's not that easy those days in 12th century, in 13, 14, or 17 until 17th century. It's not that easy for them to talk about it. Even the English economists also didn't talk about that much on principles of public expenditure. But Ibn Taymiyyah, surprisingly, he actually talked a lot about it. He started saying that the first one, Ibn Taymiyyah says that there are two main objectives when it comes to public expenditures, the expenditures of faith revenues. The first objective is to preserve the social life, The second one is actually to improve the quality of the social life. So preserving and then improving. So two objectives. Also, he talked about the expenditures of on defense, on military defense. This is also very important for the state. Defense was utmost necessity. In fact, when it comes to defense, he talks about the war widow and their children and their welfare, well-being, and support system for those people, right? Also, the stipend for and then salaries and wages for those guards and the territories, all right? Other than this, he also mentioned so many other expenditures. He talked about the expenditures on the governors, right? And expenditures for the maintenance of the justice. So this is all something that we know, but we need to identify here that he talked about it in 12th century, right? Or 13th century, yeah. 13th, I think, 13th century. He talked about the expenditures on the maintenance of justice. He also talked about the, for the public to become the good citizens, for the public, for in education facilities, and even in the religious matters, to devote themselves to learn something. So he wanted to spend more in education, right? This is the way Ibn Taymiyyah doing the budgeting, because today every year that we always look forward what kind of budgeting this year, right? So Ibn Taymiyyah usually do this also, budgeting. He also talk about the money should be spent on public utilities and also infrastructure, especially the roads, canals, the bridges, etc., etc. All right, so all those things which must be constructed from the revenues. Other than this, also, he talk about the every sort of welfare projects, even the promotion of the money should be used for the promotion of the industry, the promotion of the commerce, especially he even talked about the postal services. Can you believe? Postal services and delivery services, transportation services as well. It looks like a new, new era that we are talking about. It's there. It's in his writing. It's available. It's existing in his 13th century writing. Like I told you, even English economists, they were they have nothing much to talk about the public expenditures, but Ibn Taymiyyah, he did, right? It happens because he clearly saw differences between zakat and faith, and today it is really it is really sad to see that even some of our Muslim scholars, The contemporary scholars, only talking about zakat and as a social finance today. So today we are talking about another uh, aspect of social finance, which is actually waqaf. Yeah. So today we ended up with only these two options, whether you're going to talk about zakat or waqaf. But the thing is, I agree. I understand, because we have the different system today. We have the different judicial system. We have a different economic system that we are following. But it's fine. We can actually bring the integrated way of looking. I mean, the taxes that we are collecting, we need to make sure that we are collecting the proper taxes, and then we need to make sure that the politics, the politicians, and the authorities, the government is actually properly, paying off those revenues. I mean, they are actually putting that into the right expenditures, right? Initially, he talks about a few uh, types of rulers. That's something interesting. He says there are three types of government. There is one type of government is actually those who are extremist ruler. He completely neglect the hereafter, but he actually very ambitious in worldly matters. So he was very good. So now, to call him, like, or to call his country as a developed country, so completely, you know completely developed, the GDP top level, top notch, the financial developments, economic developments, and social developments, everything is actually top notch. So this is one types of ruler. The second types of ruler is actually who actually who actually really fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the same time, this ruler, this government is actually thinking that too much uh, too much mingling, or too much contributing in this worldly matter will take him away from hereafter. So what happens that, because of the fear, this government, this ruler, he doesn't want to engage in world material, because of the fear, because he say, okay, if I go to politics, so this is what people tell you, right? Be careful. If you go to politics, you will be a different person. You completely change. So now people say it is a fear that what actually is stopping you to go to the politics, and then you completely get away. You completely stay away from the world materials, and then you only focus on hereafter. This is the second types of rulers that Ibn Taymiyyah talk about. The third types of rulers, the third types of government that he referring is actually something. He says they are the middle course. They are the one who actually in the path of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says the third type of the government, the third type of the ruler are the one who follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who actually they are very good in spending money for the world materials. At the same time, they also look for the hereafter gain. So they engage. What they do, they engage. So this is where actually he wants to be. So he says that you should engage in collecting the money. You should take that risk. So in a way, he says that you should be in politics. You should go to politics. You take care of it. You should know. The thing is that you should not let that money controls you. You should not let that politics controls you. You should control the politics. You should control the money. So, here what he talks about, the collecting the revenues, whereby he brought all the fee together, fee, and then he also talk about the distributing those fee, those revenues, and then expenditures, the strategies that So all these actually he brings, he talked out, he talk about it, all these things, yeah. Also, when it comes to public expenditures, he talks about, of course, the public expenditure must be given to the poor and needy, upcoming army, and the maintenance of the internal law and order, also pensions and salaries and officials, educations, infrastructures, also general welfare. This general welfare can go to many extent. There's a lot to talk about the general welfare. Yeah. So all these things actually, he brings these discussions in his book, and this is what actually I wanted to give you, this idea of public finance in Islamic history and what was being done before 13th century in Islamic territories. Yeah, hope this one will inshallah help you for those especially who actually start writing something about kharaj and public finance. All right, so when we say kharaj, remember kharaj is a part of public finance in Islam, meaning kharaj also will come under fay. Like jizya will come under fay, kharaj also will come under fay. All those financial penalties, all those ushur, we call it ushur, which is custom duties. All those goods and services duties, everything will come under. Also the tribute paid by the money. For example, today, if any foreign deposits comes to your country, or maybe foreign incomes comes to your country, this is all actually comes under fay. Yeah. Okay. So I just let me just go through the slides, and then let's see if I can go to the next topic. Public finance. Ibn Taymiyah condemned the unjust taxation and illegal sources. He also condemned injustice on both parties. Collector. Ibn Taymiyah advised the taxing authorities to be just and in their taxation procedures, even when the tax is an illegal one. They should impose the tax on everyone who is liable to pay it, and make no exceptions in lieu of favors or any other such consideration. Okay, so here he talks about forbidding tax evasions, and also he talks about the Sharia-based justice. Yeah, the source government prescribed Sharia. He believes represents a middle way between two extremes. Yeah, this is why we talk about middle way between two extremes. Yeah, the third time that we talked just now. Okay, this is what the expenditures, generally speaking, this is the expenditures of all the public finance in Baitul Mal, from Baitul Mal. It has to go to poor and needy, the army, the maintenance of the internal law, pensions and salaries, education, infrastructure, general welfare. When it comes to ghanima, so ghanima is one of the Baitul Mal revenue. Ghanima, as you see that 4 parts of them will go to the military, the 1/5 will go to beneficiaries. I mean, 1/5 will go to what mentioned in the Quran, like Prophet ﷺ and his family, but now no more Prophet, no more his family, but it only goes to orphans and poor. Then this is the expenditure of Zakah. This is very clear today. Whatever that we are discussing, it only goes to the 7 asnaf or 8 asnaf in the Quran. Yeah, Fuqara, Masakin, Amilin, Mu'allaf Qulub, Riqab, Gharimin, Fi Sabilillah, Ibn Sabil. Here also Ibn Taymiyyah was able to categorize. For example, he categorized these 2 in 1, and then Amilin, and then this Riqab and Gharimin in 1, and this last 2 in 1. Yeah. Then he talks about the expenditure of the fay. When it comes to expenditure of the fay, it has to be like, it should be it shouldn't be spent on defense, and also should be spent on other expenditures like maintenance of the expenditure and governance, ministers, maintenance of justice, maintenance for the judges and qadis, yeah, to help its people become good citizens. Even the educational facilities, even the trainings, yeah, the expertise, the skills, teaching the skills are also the religious matters. This is also something very important. So because this when we are making people engage in teaching and learning the religious matters. So I think it's a kind of social well-being. Also spending on public utilities, infrastructure, economic tasks, yeah, all this. Okay. Okay, so far. So do you have any questions in public finance before I go to the next one?
Sir,
Yes, please, go ahead. Yes, Aisha.
you said that fee and zakat is different, right? But
Hmm.
some of the materials I searched, it said that zakat fitrah is a type of poll tax, and that most Islamic taxes comes under zakat in Al-Quran.
Because zakat, fitra, and zakat is not the same, Aisha. When we talk about zakat, we should not talk about zakat fitra. What is zakat fitra? Tell me.
It says here that it is a type of poll tax due once a year at the end of fasting month of Ramadan.
Yes. So that is the purpose of paying. What is the purpose of paying zakatul fitr, zakat al fitr?
Because it's one of the pillars of Islam.
The purpose is actually everyone should celebrate Eid, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that we are going to celebrate Eid, but now there's a possibility that some poor, they don't have enough food, so that they might not, because you see, it is actually haram to do fasting on the day of Eid, festival Eid. You know that is actually haram, because you had a 30 days or 29 days of the fasting, but when it comes to 30th days, you should not be fasting. In Shawwal 1, you should not be fasting. So everyone should eat on that day. So Sadaqatul Fitr or Zakatul Fitr, people call it in both names. In some places, Zakatul Fitr. Back in subcontinent, we call it Sadaqatul Fitr. That's why we don't call it Zakatul Fitr, because when you say Zakatul Fitr, so it looks like it is a zakat. But zakat is not what we pay the 7 ringgit or 10 or 15 ringgit of zakat al fitr, because that is for the fitr. Okay, what is fitr means? What fitr means? Eid al fitr, am I right? So fitr goes to, you know that? Yes,
Yes,
Aisha.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so fitr is actually it goes to fitr itself. If you call futur, for example, aftara, if for example aftara yuftiru, iftar, futur means something that you are breaking the fast, am I right? So fitr is something that we call Eid al-Fitr, because Eid is actually use the word for festival or holy, we call it today. So why we are actually celebrating Eid al-Fitr is because we've been fasting for 30 days. So the 31st days or the first of Shawwal must be celebrated. So every one of us should have enough food and meat or enough thing that we can celebrate. That's why everybody should celebrate. So we have to pay that 7 ringgit at least, because if you count the money that you are paying for zakat al-fitr, is only equals to, it only the sustenance for one food, am I right? It's not even one food. Even that's why I wonder when I know they said the minimum is 7 ringgit. There's another package 15 ringgit. Even they have 20-40 ringgit. It would be better if you pay more, because I myself don't want to have 7 ringgit for my lunch. If I want to have a proper lunch in the day of Eid, how much is going to cost, Aisha?
Average about 10.
Even 10 also. The proper lunch for Eid. I'm talking about not the normal Eid. Not the normal lunch. The lunch that you want to have in your Eid, in your in your Hari Raya, how much it would be?
It will be expensive because considering the lemon,
Exactly, right? So at least 30, 40 ringgit, right? At least, I want to have a very good biryani with with meat and everything. Everybody would love to have something on that day, right? Uh, even cooking that also is expensive. Anyway, I'm just pointing out since you asked. So that 7 ringgit that we are paying on top of family, let's say your family have 5 members, you are paying only 37, 35 ringgit. That's actually just you are paying to someone so that they can celebrate the day of it. That has nothing to do with zakat. Zakat is something that you have to pay 2.5 percentage uh, of what you are keeping from your earnings, whatever that you are keeping for 1 year, your balance, your saving. You need to count your savings for last year in 2020, and then whatever the remaining money that you have to pay 2.5 percentage. If you have a business, you need to do the auditing and then accounting, and then based on that you pay. So now zakat still, if you look, a person is actually spending a person is actually earning um, uh, 10,000 ringgit. So how much zakat he will pay?
depending on his capability.
Yeah, but if you have 10,000 ringgit, out of 10,000, what is the 2.5?
And correctly.
Really? 250, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So out of 10,000 ringgit, you are paying only 250 ringgit. So now you just do the calculation how this 250 ringgit out of 10,000 is actually going to eradicate poverty. Going to. So now, what that's the reason why this zakat only should be given to that 7 or 8 asnaf. Only those people are, and then you can't even spend on non-Muslims. It has to be spent. So now, if we think in a way that why zakat should be spent on only these 8 asnaf, why this zakat is only should be paid on Muslims, why we don't expand it into more than 8 asnaf? Maybe it is a kind of good idea, right? Maybe when you are thinking, can we extend more asnaf? I mean, let's say more people will will get benefits. Can we extend this to also to the non-Muslims, so that everyone, country like Malaysia, of course, everyone will get benefits? It looks like a very good idea. Am I right? But that's not the right way to do, because Sharia already clearly implemented. It stated that you have faith, you have taxes, you have lots and lots of money that you are paying taxes. You only pay 2.5 from your savings. I mean, how much? Not from your earnings. You are not paying. For example, I earn 100,000 ringgit and then I spend most of the money. Should I have to pay zakat for it? No. How much I have it at the end of the year? Let's say I earn 100,000 ringgit. I managed to keep only 25,000 ringgit at the end of the year. So that's my saving. So from the saving 25,000 ringgit, I have to pay 2.5. But when it comes to taxes, are you paying the taxes on your savings, or are you paying the taxes on your earnings?
Earning.
Very good, Durra. Is it only you are paying taxes from your earnings? What are the other? Yes, Dora, go ahead.
Mm, Maybe no.
Yeah, okay. If no, what are the other what are the other places that you are actually paying the taxes other than the income?
Wealth.
Sorry?
Wealth.
Wealth. Oh, can you explain what is that wealth?
Meaning, it's like Islamic tax. You have to pay based on the wealth that you have, not income. Because according to the modern tax, you have to pay according to the income that you earn. For example, income tax.
Okay, we talked about income tax. I'm talking about other than income. What else? Where exactly you are paying taxes? Come on,
Tax.
it's not difficult question for economic student.
Road tax. Yeah.
Yes,
Road tax.
very good. Okay, well, I mean, of course. Can you give a common name for it?
Common name?
Hmm. I mean, it's not only road tax, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every goods and services.
GST.
Ah, yes, GST. Every goods and services, you are actually paying the tax. Am I right or not? I mean,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong. and,
Yes.
and correct me if you have other terms as well, because myself also, I have to learn from you. So now, every goods and taxes, I mean services, we are actually paying. You know that the moment that you buy petrol, you are paying taxes. The moment that you are buying chocolate, you're actually paying taxes. You are entering into a mall, but you are paying the parking fee. That small amount of money from the parking fees actually goes to the tax. You eat in the restaurant and then you see the bill, they will add 6% at least, or 10 or 12% at least, the taxes. Not only you are paying taxes because to the shop, you are also indirectly paying taxes to every vegetables, to every groceries. You didn't know that actually. But when you are buying for your home, when you are taking your home, you are buying sugar and groceries and everything, even the biscuits, there is a taxes for it. If you look into the receipt, then you will understand how much taxes actually we are paying. By meaning we are paying because we pay to the grocery shop, and then the shop owners, right? They are actually paying to the government. And without paying to the government, it is impossible for them to renew their contract, their license. And every year you can see even every shop, running even small shop, even restaurant, small cafeteria, they have to also get that 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 renewal of the license, what they call it, yeah, the license renewal should be done from the municipal office, even for the shop. And other than this, they have to also pay the tax. So now taxes, 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 everywhere taxes. It's not only in United States. I mean, Texas is everywhere, right? So now the problem that, of course, what Aisha was referring is what we are paying zakah is actually only 2.5%. And that zakah also not everybody has to pay. If you are poor, you don't have to pay zakat. If you have your house and your car and you look very good, you look alhamdulillah good, look rich, but you are, I mean, you are self satisfied, and you have your own things that you are satisfying with it, and then you don't have extra, but you are happy with what you have, meaning to say you don't have to pay tax. I mean, you are not paying taxes. So you pay, sorry, you are not paying zakat. You don't have to pay zakat, because zakat only you have to pay when you have additional things that you have with you and you remain with you, and for those things only you are paying zakat. So now, in what way zakat will eradicate poverty, right? So that's why Sharia, we have it. We don't, that's why when it comes to Islamic perspective, we only talk about zakat, and we actually cannot expand zakat into so many things. But country like Malaysia, Alhamdulillah, you know, they have done a very good initiative. For example, I have to pay taxes, like for example, income tax. I have to pay income tax, let's say 10% or 20% from my salary. Out of it, I can pay 2.5 percentage as a zakat. So it's like exempted or maybe deducted. It's like zakat will be a tax deduction or tax exemption in this country, which is actually a beautiful concept, beautiful ijtihad that they are doing. But again, that money will go to, of course, the asnaf. But again, every single facility that we are having, whether you are driving in a road, whether you are accessing internet, whether you are actually enjoying the electricity, right? Everything is actually comes from the taxpayers' money. So tax, without tax, there is no country, there is no economy. So Islam also talks about, that's why Islam talks about fay, and fay is actually everything. And you have all this haraj and jizya, and also ushur. Ushur is something which is called custom taxes, the business taxes. Every time the product come in, there is a tax for it. Now you know why Honda and Toyota is more expensive than Proton. Why it is why Mitsubishi is expensive than Perodua? Because Perodua and Proton is the local manufacturing. There is no tax for it. But when it comes to car, when car comes from other countries, there's a tax, right? So that's the reason why the car become expensive. So if that is the case, I mean, Islam also talks about in Sharia also. These are the things that has been talked about it. It seems irrelevant because we don't have you know what we call that Islamic state or Islamic political system today. What we are actually uh, doing it today is actually following the Western system, the conventional system. But what we are trying to do from this course is actually not to change, not necessary that you have to change to Islamic state. You have to completely change to Islamic political system. Not necessary to do that, because it is also impossible to do that now. What we are trying to propose from these courses is actually try to look for the integrated way of working. Remain in the system that you are doing right now is fine. You don't have to name it as a Western system. You can actually name it as a Malaysian system, yeah? Malaysian economic system, Malaysian judicial system, Malaysian financial system is fine. Since Malaysia has a lot of Muslims majority, so actually what we can do, we can actually do integration. This is what actually I want you to also work on your term paper. Integration, this is also one of the mission of IIUM. If you remember the Ta'aruf week, I think you came to know that we have this triple ICE, right? Integration, Islamization, internationalization, and comprehensive excellence. So this is one of our university's vision and mission of IIUM. So integration, yes. So now we learn all this so that we can at least bring this into the current system, which can actually make it better for everybody. That is good. That actually is what we can actually work on it. That's what is still available for us to jump in. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
So another question. So in
Yes,
that
Aisha.
case, zakat and the livestock is also considered as a tax, is it?
On livestock, yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
thank you.
it's again, you also have, for example, you are the dairy producer. For example, just now you are talking about livestock, isn't it? So
Yes, sir.
by livestock, you mean the cattles and the
Yes, sir.
pests? Yeah, okay, pests. Yeah. In that case, for example, you are producing the dairy, you have the dairy farms and you're producing milk, definitely there is a certain amount of zakat you have to pay as a Muslim to purify your business. At the same time, you have to pay more than zakat. You have to pay taxes to the government. That's for the supply that government is letting you to deliver, letting you to spend, I mean, letting you to sell among the customers, and the government letting the consumers, take your milk and supply. That one is different. So you actually, every single company is actually paying a lot in the name of taxes. So now, perhaps if someone can actually do paper on 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 the difficulties, showing the difficulties that paying zakat together with taxes, which is actually a hard things to do. That's why I said country like Malaysia is a blessing, because here, if you are doing a business, you don't have to pay taxes and zakat simultaneously. You don't have to pay at the same time. You pay your zakat, that zakat will be exempted and deducted in your tax. Let's say a Muslim lives in India, a Muslim lives in Sri Lanka. I have to pay my income tax to the government. At the same time, I have to pay also my zakat. So it's become burden. So if you can also talk about how Malaysia is actually handling this by paying zakat. You go to PSP, I still have the pen, PPZ, Pusat Zakat, right? So this PPZ, and they actually registering your name and your income, so that it will be your income will be taken as a zakat, your payment will be taken as a zakat, and then remaining only will go to income tax. So I think that's a kind of good thing. So now we need to understand, of course, every company has to pay zakat, but which is little, but more they are actually paying the taxes. Okay, any other questions?
Sir,
Yes, Dora.
if we don't want to pay zakat, it is sinful. But what if we run or we avoid from paying tax? Is it sinful?
Come again, your question.
If we not paying zakat,
Mm.
it is sinful because it is wajib.
Mm.
But what if we run or avoid paying the tax?
Oh, okay, very good. That also another good question as well. Of course, I agree that as a Muslim, I accept I have to pay zakat, but what about my taxes? If I running away, or maybe I cheat the government in a way that I'm paying zakat, I'm paying the taxes, or maybe I know the way that how to hide my income, this and that. Again, as a Muslim, you should understand that this life and the next life must be integrated. Can I pray and make Allah happy at the same time I make my neighbor unhappy? Can I make fasting to make Allah happy at the same time I make my family not eating, I make my family hunger? I pay zakat in the name of Islam. At the same time, I don't pay nafaqah to my wife. So now, if you answer this question, Dura, the one I asked you just now, then you understand the answers also for the government. For as a Muslim, it is impossible to see two different things, because it is this is actually where I tell you, this question that Dura just now asked has so many deep meaning, because of the misunderstanding. What happened that for many years Muslims actually were not I mean, especially not everybody. I mean, the Muslims that do business, they actually didn't get it right. One example I can give you: when you bring any products, any items from different countries, you have to pay as tax to the country. I mean, if you are getting if you are buying some products from for example from China, you when it comes to Malaysia, you have to pay certain tax. Am I right? In fact, if you are buying a gold from Singapore and you are coming and you're bringing to, I mean, for business purpose, it's okay. If it is for your own purpose, I don't mind. If it is for your own consumption, it's fine. I'm talking about business purpose. You are buying gold from Singapore and then you are entering to Malaysia. So the rule clearly says that you have to pay tax. So now what happens that when it comes to Muslims, certain group of Muslim, when they actually think that if you are living in a non-Muslim country, why should you pay tax? I tell you, this question most people ask in India, because you see Muslims lives in non-Muslim country, right? Not like Malaysia, India, you know that different country, and the tax goes to non-Muslim government. So it was not clearly guided to them, so they understood, or maybe they misunderstood. They say that it's okay, it's fine, it's okay not to pay the taxes. So you can see most of the smugglers. So this is what I'm saying. Most of the smugglers, unfortunately, happen to be Muslims. If not here, at least in subcontinent. If you look subcontinent, most of the smugglers. So what they do is actually they bring items from China or from Emirates or from Africa or from other countries. The goods are coming into India, and they bribe some officers, some authorities, and then the goods are coming in without paying the taxes to the government. So now, how do you justify yourself? The wrong is the wrong. The mistake is a mistake. As a Muslim, we cannot have that, because what happens that you are actually enjoying the taxpayers' money when you are driving your car, when you are accessing into some building, when you are getting the benefits from the government. You are actually accessing, you are enjoying, even though you can complain about something, but most of the time we are actually enjoying the government advantages most of the time. Let's see the water. The water comes to your house. What are the expenses? Do you think is it possible for you yourself go and dig the water from the ground and then drink from the ground? It is impossible. It's very difficult. It is very expensive. The government is doing that part. The electricity, do you think you can create electricity on your own? It is impossible. It is very, very difficult. It's very expensive. In fact, the petrol that we are using, if you pay the complete amount of money, I mean, if you pay the cost, it will be very expensive. But we are paying only certain amount of money because the government is compensating, subsidiary we call it. So now we are enjoying all these advantages, and then if we refuse to pay taxes, meaning we are not refused to pay taxes to the government, we are actually refusing to pay the taxes for the people who actually already becoming taxpayers, and because of their tax money we are actually enjoying. So in order to avoid our problems, I mean, in order to avoid the sin that what Durga just now asked, there is a sin if I don't pay taxes. In order to avoid that sin, I have to also pay back the taxes according to my level, so that at least we are in the same. Oh, sorry, I took some extra time. 11:32 already. So okay, inshallah. So if there is anything, you let me know. And at the same time, oh yeah, Wednesday is holiday, right? Is it correct? Wednesday, is it holiday? Coming Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. So no classes on Wednesday. I will see you on Monday, inshallah. I will continue to finish this Ibn Taymiyyah. All right?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
In the Google Sheet, basis you give the feedback. So
Yes,
I
please.
just use your give me the topic, or I need to choose another.
Have you written your topics in the Google Sheet?
Yeah, and you give the similar topic.
Okay, then please follow that one. Yeah.
Okay, thank
I
you.
already those who wrote your topics, I already corrected it. Please, those who did not, please write down your topic. I will just correct your topic.
Okay.
Then you can continue doing it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Please do so. Cool. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're
We'll sit in the
welcome.
term
You're
practice also.
welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.